Here's what some people are saying about the Projection Booth podcast.
The Projection Booth is single-handedly the greatest film podcast you could ever listen to or could possibly want.
Top notch. 5 stars. This has quickly become one of my favorite film-related podcasts. Always interesting.
A completely unpretentious yet fully comprehensive look at films from all genres.
The Projection Booth podcast, with new episodes available every week at projectionboothpodcast.com.
You guys look like... What do they look like, Jimmy?
Dorks. They look like a couple of dorks.
Get those birds! Nerds!
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
What? Are you kidding? We got us some family here.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
You are listening to the In the Mouth of Dorkness podcast. Here are Brad, Lisa, Brian, and Darren.
Welcome to another edition of the ITMODcast podcast. With me is Indie Dork, William Das.
Hello.
I'm sorry, Das. God damn it.
No. I mean, look, I'm not picky, but it is Das.
Okay.
And also, we've established that it's not the indie dork; it's the dork. I'm trying to make that a thing.
Wait, I'm saying, when did we establish that?
I did on Twitter.
He did call me out as the dork. That's what happens when you write, like, on the internet, an entire article about penises in movies. You get to be the dork.
Oh, okay.
But no, please, Darren, don't officially change that. I like indie dork.
You sure?
Oh yes, much better than dork.
Right. So he's dork.
So if it's for Lost Weekend, you're a dork, apparently. All right.
Every time I talk to him, he's dork.
All right. Well, also joining us is Brad Gullickson, mouth dork.
I'm wearing my same clothes from yesterday.
Still. And I'm your host, Darren Smith, the disco dork. And I'm not changing that shit. Welcome to day 2 of Lost Weekend VII.
Yeah.
Our first film down, one notch in the belt. Our first film of day 2, that is. And that was The Teacher,
which was an audible. We've had a change up in our schedule.
Yeah.
There's some mysterious new films added to the list that we can't talk about just yet. But what happened was we lost Slack Bay. Originally, that was going to be the opening film, and Andy pushed things around, and now we have The Teacher as our opening Friday movie. So what you guys think?
I enjoyed it. How about you, Billy?
I liked it a lot. Holy shit. That movie was dark.
It's the Slovakian film about a corrupt teacher ruling her classroom with an iron fist, forcing her students' parents to do odd jobs around the house and elsewhere, maybe.
The persuasive powers of the Communist Party put to the...
So that her kids can get crappy little grades.
Goddamn.
Or not so crappy little grades. So you're really enthusiastic about this film, Billy, and that makes me happy. So I'm just going to fade into the background, Homer Simpson into the bush.
You find that interesting, right?
I do find that interesting.
Well, Billy, what was it that you liked about the film?
I like the way that they show how she uses the powers of the Communist Party to extort the parents of the children to do that. At the opening part of the movie, she introduces herself to the class by having the kids stand up and say their names and what their parents do. And she pulls out her little black book and she takes very detailed notes of the things that they do. And she immediately begins manipulating them to provide services for her, then get her cakes, smuggle things into Russia, do all sorts of nasty things. But to me, it just felt very real. It wasn't exaggerated. It wasn't hyper real. It felt like I was in a classroom in Slovakia, I presume, watching the Communist Party worm its way into these people's lives and just utterly dominate them.
Yeah, that's what I find the most interesting about the film is that, because I'm not too familiar with their culture and, the state of affairs and how things go over there. But for me, like the idea that this is a normal and to some extent accepted occurrence is just, astonishing to me. And because, this is just, is this just one teacher? Or are there other places and other teachers in other schools that work off of a similar system that this teacher is? And because when you see the film, the parents, there are some parents and other people there that are complicit in it and don't have.
That's what it is.
That's what it is.
It's the complicitness of the parents that join in and do this. Like the ease with which they fall into like offering themselves up and the things that they can do and giving her power.
Yeah.
I love the reveal of, even though her students' parents are doing all these things for their children supposedly, and they are getting decent, grades on their pop quizzes and whatnot, their actual test grades, their IQ scores, are drastically down from the rest of the student body.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that reveal, I was hoping would cause some kind of ripple effect, but by that point, they've argued themselves into justification.
Well, and it's like it's how easy it is to supplicate yourself to authority because you think that you're going to get something out of it, and you really have no fucking idea what you're getting out of it. A bit by virtue of the fact that she's corrupting the way that the school system is being run in the first place.
I really enjoyed the cast, especially the parents.
Yes.
Mr. Bender.
Mr. Bender, yeah. Martin Havelka, who has like Charles Bronson's face.
Yes, high five.
But definitely not Charles Bronson's body.
No.
He was really phenomenal, and when the film was focused on his story and his son's story, I was extremely engaged. But for me, I love the setup. I love the premise. That opening scene that you're talking about there, where she's filling out her little black book, is excellent. I just kept waiting for these different points of view to build to another, like a third act. Like there really wasn't a third act.
Yeah.
It was just opening act, rest of the movie. It was like a 2-act structure.
I don't know. I didn't really think of it as a downside for it, though, because that felt honest to me. Like I think in those cases in reality, when you see somebody worm their way into a system like that, they don't fall with a bang and a loud crash and a cathartic third act. They sort of fizzle through the sudden lack of support from enough people.
I agree, but for me, the film just stayed on a single path.
Sure.
Like there were no variations on the story.
Yeah.
They told their tale, they had the reveal, and then quietly people filed into an office to give their signature.
Yeah.
And it just didn't excite me. Like I just sort of waited for the film to end.
Brian, your thoughts on the film?
None.
Because Brian was sleeping. I enjoyed the film as well. I thought the performances were really good. Mr. Bender, he was my favorite character. Or actually, him and his relationship with his family, his wife and his son, their storyline. I gravitated towards at least for him and the other parent, the parent of the gymnast girl.
Yeah.
I gravitated towards the idea of them succumbing to this system because they're forced to do this because they feel they're forced to do this so that their child can succeed in school, not based off of academics but based off of bribing. And so being put in a box like that was an interesting and actually a disturbing concept for me as a father. I was thinking like how would I feel about that? And in the context of the film in that country, like me in real life here, I would say, well, I'll just take my daughter to another school. I'll go to the PTA board. But again, within the context of where they are and how things work in their society, obviously it's not that simple, and that is scary to me too.
Yes.
The film is all set up, right, for me, and I felt like there lacked any revelations. Everything you're saying, I agree with, but nothing happens. I mean, that's not 100% true. I really appreciate Carol's final act of defiance.
Yeah.
But, after they just, I tell my story,
But I don't think it's just that they're telling their story. I think it's watching them work up the courage to simply add their name to a thing.
Them walking into that room to sign, that was the payoff. That was the big bang at the end. That was them, like you said, working up the courage to do that. Because a large part of outside of the individual stories, well, for me at least, outside of the individual stories that they were telling for Bender's family and then the young gymnast girl was, again, the complicitness of everyone else in that room, hearing these stories and still being okay with what's going on. That young gentleman being the mouthpiece for them, the guy who was going to file a complaint because they were slandering and things like that. And I think that also the nature of how it doesn't have like this big ending and then ultimately she comes back in the end and teaches is potentially reflective on just, well, that's how it is there.
Yeah.
Like there may be a situation in a school, parents might come together to maybe complain or try to do something about it, but at the end of the day, that teacher's going to go somewhere else, or she's just going to come back. Like that's the machine, that's the beast. It just keeps going.
And that's so to me, it's exactly that, because it's not. There is a certain quietness to peer pressure. There's a certain quietness to applying political pressure and power dynamics in a room. And to me, this movie was an exploration of the dynamics of a room, crowd dynamics, and how people sign on to different points of view, and how, because it is momentous when they stand up and they say, "This is what I'm just gonna go ahead and sign." Like this guy, he can't get himself together to do that, and when he finds the courage to do it, that single act, as quiet as it is momentous for the plot of the story. I don't think it's just the storytelling, but that resonated super strong with me because I'm interested in crowd dynamics and the way that people come together to form opinions. I mean, that's organization building that you're watching right there, and generating consensus in a hostile environment where you have different opinions across the board and getting people to sign on. That's complicated stuff. And I found that resonated with me. And if you're not into that, I think the movie might be a miss, and it might feel like a kind of just a 2-act. Okay, well, now here's my story. This shit happened because that shit did happen, and that is sort of what they say.
But yeah, I see where Brad is coming from, and especially coming off of something like
The Gong.
We're getting ready to
start.
Especially coming off something like the Invisible Guest, or was it Invisible Guest?
Yeah.
How that movie has similar structures and payoffs and build-offs and all these different threads.
This is better than the Invisible Guest.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, really?
I think so.
Yeah.
So next up is Alive and Kicking. We're going to go grab our seats. I'm going to go grab a sandwich, and we will be back shortly. And welcome back, everyone, to the ITMODcast podcast. We are in day 2 of Lost Weekend VII, and we just got done watching 2 films, one a documentary called Alive and Kicking, and the other a comedy called Young Offenders. So let's start with Alive and Kicking. This documentary is about the swing movement, swing dancing, and is it with Lindy Hop. Lindy Hop. And
you don't got that swing, man.
Oh.
You don't know a thing.
So it don't mean a thing. So let's talk about that.
That's the joke. Shit, I fucked it up.
Yes, you did.
It's all good. It's all good.
Redeem yourself by talking about the documentary. What were your thoughts?
I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It's one of those films that's all about passion, and anytime a documentary chooses to explore passion, whether that's in movies or comic books or swing dancing, I am on board.
Absolutely.
And I immediately become a fan of that thing, even if I know absolutely nothing about it.
Yeah.
And so I'm ready. I'm ready to get some classes with Lisa, and let's do this. Let's Lindy Hop.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that blues, though.
Why not?
Whoa, that was the one I wanted to do.
You got to start there.
Man.
No, because if I start doing blues with Lisa, other people want to be doing blues with Lisa, and I can't handle that.
No switching.
I don't. But doesn't Lindy Hop switch?
Yeah, Lindy Hop I'm okay with.
So you're fine Lindy Hopping, partner switching?
Yes.
But I don't think blues
swinging.
dancing actually switches.
Blues dancing doesn't switch?
Yeah, blues
all right.
don't switch.
Because only, some...
It looked very personal, is what you're saying.
Genital.
What's up, Chris? We're joined by the Rap Dork. What were your thoughts on the documentary?
I really loved it. One of the things I always bring up is when it comes to...
you gotta give your review in rhyme. You gotta rap your review.
That ain't happening. I'm not getting paid.
That's a fact. Only me.
Be rad on the mic.
Yeah.
But one of the things I do love is the fact that with documentaries, we get a lot of times where it's just a lot of like heavy documentaries, and I just love something every now and then that's very light, and it's about passion and just seeing a group of people, use this to process through, pain, depression, anxiety, and just seeing like a huge group get together and do something beautiful. And one of the things I do love is that I was watching and I was like, are they going to bring up that this came from, the black community and touch on it? And I'm glad that they did, and I'm glad that they highlighted, the two stars of like Norma Miller and
Frankie Manning.
Yeah, and I was really happy about that. And I just love that. Another thing is that it took over a long process of time. Like you could see it was probably like 4 or 5 years that they did this whole shoot, and it just was one. I fell in love with it. I gave it 4 stars. I cannot wait to watch it again. My girlfriend's aunt is a professional dancer, and I can't wait to watch it with her and see what she thinks of everything she sees, because she does ballroom. And, of course, they give a little stab at ballroom because it's like, if you want to make money, that's what you go do. But if you want to have passion and really love what you do and not care about the money, because you'll be a barista if you don't do anything but this. You come here. This is where all the real stuff is at. But I think it was a really beautiful film, and I'm just really happy to see it.
What did you think about its collage nature, where it would go in and tell the Iraq veteran story, and then it would tell the Frankie Manning and the story of Harlem, and then it would go and talk about the Danaka sisters?
Yeah.
Sure. Anyway, the Swedish sisters story. I feel like there was a movie with all of them that they could have just focused on one character instead of jumping around. But at the same time, that jumping around nature adds to what you were talking about, the passion side of it.
Yeah, I think the byline was, this is a very passionate thing. This is something that brings in community, and I think that's the one thing they wanted to focus on was community. But I also feel this is something that's a Ken Burns documentary. You need to start from the beginning and then go each time when it, dissipated and people stopped doing it, and then go into the 90s. Like, I feel like this is something that can have multiple parts rather than just what we saw.
Absolutely.
But I would watch that. But if you focus on just community, I think that it did it correctly about how you do it. You would jump in and out of people's lives and just have a few main ones, but not everybody will have their own story.
And I think that's the way that it's set up and handled in the film. It just goes to the message of the film in that, it's like what Manning said when he wants everybody. He said he wants to teach everybody. He wants everybody to learn swing. It's for everybody. Yes, it originated in the black community, but then it spread across the whole world. So it touches different people in different ways and enhances and enriches everyone's life in different ways. And I think that was necessary to show, well, here's how it enhances this Iraq veteran's life. Here's how it enhances this cancer survivor and his life and her sister. So to show that this singular thing has far-reaching and different effects for different people and different cultures. And so, but I get what you're saying, Brad, because the history of it is so interesting and compelling, and especially when you look at the pioneers of it and the founders of it. Yes, those films, those subjects could and have their own movie or documentary dedicated to them. But again, it would be a disservice to the communal aspect, because that's what they say. In the earlier part of the film, they say our society now is so everyone's in their own bubble and everyone's in their phone. And with dancing, you're present with another person. You're switching partners. You're touching, and you have human contact with different people. So just that and how that correlates with the different subjects we have in the film, I think, kind of go hand in hand.
Well, but, even in their dancing partners, they talk about how, like, look, I dance with you, we hit it off, we have a 3-minute romance is what they called it, and then they move on to the next person. I feel like that's what this movie was. It was a 3-minute romance with Lindy Hop, and now I want to know more about it. Now I want to see the documentary about the rise of Lindy Hop in Harlem and its transition to that.
I also want to go check out, Hell's a Hoppin' and all the classic swing movies.
Yeah.
And I think another beautiful thing is improvisation. Just seeing a group of people you don't know this other person you dancing for the first time, and you become one on the dance floor just by, figuring out. And just, it's like when a band comes together, they never play together, but once that drum beat comes in, everybody just falls in line. And just to see two people, like, we don't know what you're going to play, we don't know how fast it's going to be, but we're going to be able to connect.
You don't even know the music, right?
And that's
crazy.
That's the human aspect and element that is that society is lacking when you're to yourself and you're in your phones. You're having that one-on-one with someone, and then on a instinctual level, you're communicating with a person to read that person, to know what step to, if you're the leader in that pair, then you have to have the trust of your partner that they're gonna, that you're gonna lead them in the right direction, and you have to have a trust that they'll be able to follow. And it's just this back and forth that happens, instantaneously on an instinctual level. That's just fascinating. And
it's like a practical use, or like experiential learning and faith. Like, you got to have faith in your partner, and that seemed to be what everybody's taken out of this community aspect is faith that their person next to them is gonna be with them. So
it's damn near pro wrestling. When you think about it, you have to have faith that the person you're working with doesn't hurt you or does anything bad to make you look bad. So,
or that they're going to be there to catch you when you're doing a 2-person execution. Absolutely. That's actually, I wasn't thinking about that until you said that. That's fucking spot on.
It's also the perfect podcasting metaphor. Thanks, guys, for saving me.
And then after
dipping Brad right now.
So thumbs up all around for Alive and Kicking.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Hopefully that gets released soon, because like all of the films that have been shown at Lost Weekend this go around, Lost Weekend 7, I'm looking forward to other people seeing it, so the discussion about these films can be further.
Well, if the trend continues, Lost Weekend 7 documentaries have all hit Netflix in the last year.
Okay, good.
So I imagine this will be there.
All right, cool. Next up, we have Young Offenders.
Oh, my God.
What's that? Is that
Young Offenders.
Is that a bad? Oh, my God.
No, that was brutally funny.
Yeah, you enjoyed it?
Oh, my God, I loved it.
Holy shit, really?
Of course I did. You saw the same movie I did, right?
Yeah, but Brad doesn't like teenagers.
That's true. You don't like coming-of-age movies. How did you like it?
I don't like American teenagers, sir.
Yes, but if they have accents.
Because they're always running people down. I know what you did last summer style.
So talk about Young Offenders. Yes, I'm glad you liked it.
Well, it follows two 15-year-old Irish kids. And they are, they just want to have $1 million and have the Batcave and their own butler and live the rich life. And they have no means of making that happen outside of their dreams. And their dream, they come close to grasping it when a giant cocaine shipment is raided by the police off the shores of Cork, and a bunch of bales of coke go diving in the water, and citizens all around Ireland are diving into the ocean trying to find their free money, and
which really happened in real life.
And these two kids steal some bicycles and go up and try to find their bail.
Right, and so this, as outlandish as that premise may be, again, that. Not that two kids actually went searching for some cocaine that washed ashore, but
I'm sure they did.
But that shipment of cocaine that spilled over into the ocean and washed ashore, that really happened. But with that outlandish premise, and I think the success of this film relies on the two leads in the film and their chemistry. And
Chris Wally and Alex Murphy.
And this is a dope name, Alex Murphy. If you believe
I'd buy that for $1.
and if you're willing to go on this road trip with them, so let's talk about the chemistry of the two leads, because for me, they sold it for me. They really seem like they're best friends in real life.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed their performance. What did you think, Billy?
No, I totally buy into their friendship. I mean, because they have the same like dopey fun conversations that all best friends have. Like, you're not trying to sound smart anymore. You're just like, what the fuck is wrong with you? What do you want? What do you want? What do you want to do with $1 million? I don't know. This is a lot of pressure. Like, just that back and forth exchange where they're just sitting on the hillside talking about their dreams. Yeah. Like, that felt real to me. It felt honest.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it felt like a very Irish version of an Elmore Leonard story.
Yeah.
Criminals who don't necessarily have the brains to get the job done, but certainly have the desire to do it.
Yeah.
and stumble about for the entire runtime, and it's just a party to watch them. You're slapping your hand against your forehead at every dopey next turn, but you're also loving it.
Yeah, and are you rooting for them? Actually,
oh, of course, because of that chemistry you were talking about.
Brian, talk about the as far as Jacques and his home life, and that being a motivation for him wanting to go get some cocaine. So for Jacques, it's not just a dumb adolescent spur-of-the-moment dream to go get some cocaine and do whatever with it. He has a genuine motivation. Talk about that, his character.
Yeah, I mean, I think seeing his home life with his father, you see how how his father basically kind of abuses him, not necessarily physically, but just mentally, emotionally, just puts this barrier over him, taking his money. And it gives him motivation to want to just go out and seek a better life for himself, even if it's, at the risk of criminal activity. So it really lets you buy into the motivation. And then the relationship that they have, you see why Connor would tag along, because Connor feels like a follower in this duo. But as the movie progresses, you also see Connor kind of come out of that. That's his arc in this story, is him kind of becoming his own person, coming out from under Jacques' shadow. So I really like the chemistry between those two characters and their arc as the film progresses.
And while they make dumb decisions, dumb teenage decisions or whatever, or dumb decisions by any standard, they don't come across as bad kids. There are moments when you see that they genuinely care about other people other than themselves. Connor leaving the jacket on the guy that they're taking the cocaine from. The
old man
the old
drunk
gentleman
that they try and.
What do you think about that scene, Brad? When they go, they hide out in that old man's house, and then they have that the interaction with him that goes not where you maybe expected.
It's sort of like what we were talking about with Colossal, and there is a lot of comedy at play, but there's a lot of tragedy and pathos and hardship experience. And that side trip, that meander off the path to cocaine, is really heartbreaking. Here's this old guy who is suffering some form of dementia. He sees his own two children in these two fuck-ups, and they have a really great, wonderful, odd bonding moment around the TV.
I don't want to take away from the Irish film, but does it not feel like a Mark Twain story, almost like a commentary on like Irish life and culture, and you get kind of these characters where there is some genuine like social commentary that's wired through it, but it is sort of a comedy when you're looking at the movie.
Yeah, one of the things I picked up was communication is a big deal. There's no communicating between the parents and their children. And there's a huge gap between them, and that's why that one scene between one of the kids and his mom, and he was like, don't be so vague. I want you to tell me why you love me, and rather than just saying I'm a good son, I need to know how am I a good son, because you could just easily throw out these phrases, you're a good son, rather than actually explaining it.
And that brings you to tears, that sequence.
Yes. It does. And I think that's why, like you said, that you look at the relationship between the child and the parent juxtaposed with the relationship between Connor and Jacques, and why they're so close, because they always talk to each other. They're open and honest with each other, so they communicate. So that's why they're two peas in a pod.
Yeah, actually, that stands out, because even when they disagree, they're really quick to come. Like the next time, like there's not a long fallow period for them. They re-engage usually immediately, and
that's a
it.
sign of true friendship. We're going to have our arguments, but deep down inside, I got nowhere to go. You're my brother, and so let's talk about that third act. Like, did that go where you thought it was going to go, and did that tonal? Did that kind of throw you off?
The joy of this film is that you don't know where it's going to go. And I was just along for the ride. It doesn't go quite shallow grave. But there is that, again, that Elmore Leonard, Danny Boyle sense of it's not going to work out the way you think it's going to work out for anybody.
Yeah, I'm used to these films going super dark, so I was kind of happy that it didn't go that way, because that's usually how these films go, where like it just takes this turn, especially because it was a Fantastic Fest film. We had to mention that.
Take a shot.
Yep. But those films usually go very dark, even if it's a comedy throughout the movie. It's like, all right, here's where somebody gets dismembered. Let's have some laughs about it.
One of the two kids would have died in another film. So we're all.
Yeah, thumbs up.
Yeah.
It's actually right now on Netflix. You can watch it this very second. Please do so.
And you should.
So you have to show Lisa, but when he says, "I had sometimes
smoke
dumb
bombs.
ideas, smoke bombs," tell her to look away.
I know.
You think she'll enjoy it?
Yeah, she's gonna love it.
That's the only.
That's the only thing.
All right. So what do we got coming up next?
The Commune.
So that was an interesting trailer. I'm excited for that one. Are you
From the
excited?
director of The Hunt, and I really like The Hunt. I imagine this one won't have as much of a light turn as The Young Offenders.
I mean,
anybody who's seen that pedophile classic.
Yikes!
Yeah. All right. But those next, I feel like the next two movies are going to be. It's going to be very real.
Shit's about to get real.
Yeah. After a very light day, it's going to be very real. Minus the first movie. That wasn't light at all.
Yeah. All right. That's where we are right now. We're in the midst of a break. We're going to take a break, and then we're going to pick up with the Commune. And then what we got after that?
The Salesman, I guess.
The Salesman, and then the Blackcoats Daughter.
That one I'm looking forward to.
Blackcoats Daughter for sure. Yeah.
Used to be named February.
What are you looking forward to?
I'm flying blind. I have no idea about anything.
Nice. Must be nice. So
ignorance as bliss, as we learned by The Young Offenders.
Yes,
I got loads of it.
I really enjoyed that movie this go around. I enjoyed it the first time, but I found it more funny. I don't know. It was because I was watching it with you guys.
And the crowd was really into it.
Yeah, they really responded well to it. So that's always a good thing. So for all things Lost Weekend 7, stay tuned to the ITMODcast Twitter page, Instagram, YouTube. Brian is shooting some video we're going to have up on there. Also our Facebook channel. We're live streaming some stuff throughout the festival. So to be kept abreast on all things Lost Weekend 7, stay tuned to that. And we're going to continue our break, pick up with these other films, and we'll come back shortly with a mini recap. And we are back. It's time to recap the last three films of Lost Weekend. Day
I'm
2.
sleepy.
I know, sleepy beepy. And we're going to talk about the Commune. Did I say it right that time?
Yes.
The Commune first. Our last three films were The Commune, The Salesman, and The Blackcoats Daughter.
I let the listeners guess which movie I walked out of.
Oh, man.
First up, The Commune. Was it that one?
No.
Okay.
I enjoyed The Commune.
So, The Commune is an interesting film. It is it a Danish film?
I don't even
Swedish,
remember.
I thought.
Swedish, yes, that's right. And it's about a married
It
couple.
is Danish, actually.
Fuck.
Oh.
Correcty, correcterson.
We
Bites
should
you in the
always
ass.
have IMDb up, guys. Just FYI. I think it was a Mexican movie.
That's
pretty
definitely
close.
wrong.
The Commune is a movie about a married couple who decide to buy a large house.
No, they inherit the house.
I'm sorry, they inherit a large house.
Eric inherits a large house from an estranged family member. And the wife kind of arms him into keeping the house because he wanted to sell it. She strong arms him into keeping the house to create a commune with some hippie friends. This happens during the 80s.
70s.
No.
70s.
70s, okay.
I have IMDb up.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure they
70s.
named a date at the beginning of the movie.
70s.
Okay, whatever. Fuck your face.
Aren't they fighting in Cambodia in the course of the movie?
No, the Vietnam War.
Yeah, it's actually, but it's the French Indochina War. It's before Vietnam.
Oh, really?
No,
Brad
I don't-
knows
I
these
don't- I
things.
don't-
I don't know
that's
there's
not-
a
that's not
Walkman
true.
in it.
It's not true.
There is a Walkman in it.
Nice blocky Walkman.
It's the 70s.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway, there is like this leftist workers movement going on, and the wife, she's a news anchor, and I think that she's just kind of got swept up in this movement, and that encourages her to start this commune, even though her husband Eric is like in the beginning of the film super not into it. They have a 14-year-old daughter as well, and she's for a lot of the movie just kind of this passive observer of what's going on. But she quickly becomes a very titular character.
Well, let's talk about why the Commune is ignited in the first place. Because he's boring.
Dude, she starts with that. She's, we need to do something exciting, which is really good for your marriage.
She emasculates him right in the beginning of the film.
I mean, it's really good to have that happen on the wedding night, and then you just know what you're up for. Right, Lisa?
Absolutely. But, I mean, this movie is about like a conflict of love languages. It's just a couple who doesn't know what each other's needs are, and Eric's needs were clearly to be heard and to be considered a fascinating person and
given a room to blow up in, because that dude
temper
rage faint.
But in the Commune environment he felt himself disappear until he makes a very strong life choice that makes him the most controversial person in the house.
That is a very nice way to put that, Lisa.
He's just a real big fan of French romance movies.
Surely.
Yeah. Who isn't?
Those aren't French.
And so obviously in any time you have multiple personalities convene in one place, in a room, much less a house, you're going to have multiple interesting dynamics. And before the quote-unquote drama really starts, we see the interplay. We see that even in the
they have a series of interviews,
process of choosing the housemates. So it's like
I want to see the housemates they rejected, because they seemed pretty liberal in their choices.
Why did they interview anybody? They turned not one person away.
Oh, Alon, you can't pay for your rent? Yeah, whatever. You cry a lot, so we'll let you in.
I loved that scene. I loved Alon, and I loved how he was like, he came across as like this tough, independent guy, and then as soon as he gets any adversity, he starts crying like a baby, and Eric cannot handle it because he has an emotional wall.
Well, it's really good conflict resolution. I mean, he turns on the waterworks and he gets exactly what he wants.
Dude,
I think he's working.
Subscribe to that shit. I cry easy. I get what I want.
Yeah, Alon is in his room like Kaiser Soze, like, I got these MFers. So they have immediately they click, so to speak. They're out skinny dipping to consummate their new Real World episode.
That's just 32. another day in the Netherlands, man.
Oh yeah, is that how they do it? Oh,
yep.
I thought it was in Denmark.
Whatever.
Oh,
it is. It's Danish.
Oh, so it wasn't in Seattle.
No.
Oh, okay. So yeah.
Can you live in a commune and skinny dip in Seattle?
Why not? This is America.
Wait.
That's the right answer.
This is really making no sense. You can tell that these brains are fried.
Yeah.
I only watched 3 movies.
Yep. And so, then Eric makes that decision that Lisa mentioned, and he cheats on his wife with a younger student.
He takes a mistress.
Yep. An interesting thing happens in that, I believe it's the next scene, we see him sleeping with his wife, or they have just got done being intimate, and he confesses to her. He tells her.
Well, that's because he confessed because the daughter, the 14-year-old daughter, Freya, caught him.
That's right.
With the girlfriend who looks like a
just like mom,
straight up younger version of his wife, Anna, and
he's got a type.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, so Freya catches them, and Freya is like, don't tell mom, because Freya knows her mother. She's like, don't tell mom. And he's like, it's bad to lie about these things. And it's clear that he just wants to blow up his marriage and just start over with a new model.
And so what did you think about the mother's reception to that news in that scene that I was talking about?
I think that she feels a lot of pressure to be this cool woman who is open to having an open relationship and alternative family dynamics, and she feels this pressure to be the cool, open person. And as soon as he starts gravitating more towards Emma, the girlfriend, she starts feeling this isolation, and Eric pulls away just so completely. He no longer sleeps with his wife. He no longer touches his wife. They're barely even talking, and she just begins emotionally unraveling, alcoholism, chain smoking.
Well, we have to talk about probably the main reason why that spiral is exacerbated, that downward spiral, and that suggestion that she made for Emma.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
So apparently, they have it's actually Anna's birthday, and they're at Anna's birthday party. And Eric is like, I'm really into my new girl, but I want to keep living together. And he just drops this hint of, well, we still have rooms to fill in the house.
Yeah.
And so he kind of drops this hint that what he really wants is for Emma to move into the house with him. Mm-hmm. And Cool Wife is just like, well, if she needs a place to stay... Mm. Which, to me, when she suggested it, sounded like a temporary situation. If she needs a place to stay for a little while, she can stay in the house.
Yeah.
Cool wife. Such a dumb idea.
Don't be the cool wife.
Yeah.
No,
and
be the uncool wife.
It's not healthy.
And then Emma eventually moves in, and that's when...
And Emma is so sweet,
Yeah.
and she really does want to make it work in this commune situation. But there are so many scenes where I'm just like... Emma, fucking leave.
Well,
leave.
it's
Eric
like,
will go with you. Just leave.
It's like youthful naivete. Like I don't think she recognizes the gravity of what she's engaged with. I think she knows it maybe academically. Like they've had this long relationship and they've got a kid together, but they're very bohemian, and so we can make this work. And she just doesn't think enough about it.
Think that she's afraid of losing Eric because she's 24 years old, and I'm sure that this is, if not her very first serious relationship, her first relationship that is built on such tenuous grounds. So she's in love with him. She'll do anything to keep him.
Do you think all these characters are believable? Did you buy into all of them as humans who are making rational decisions in their own preferences?
I don't think they're making rational decisions, but I did like all of the characters. I do think maybe they're just a little bit kooky and a little bit silly, but they're also the kinds of people who would say yes to a commune. The person I found myself really appreciating was Oli.
Oh, the father.
Not the
the
father.
father.
Oli is the first
mustache
house
guy.
guest.
Yeah,
and he,
the presumed ex-boyfriend of the lady?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So apparently he and Anna have this past, and when you first see him, you're like, well, this guy is a greasy, promiscuous...
He's going to get voted off the island.
Sketchy person. But then he really becomes this arbiter, and he really has a lot to do with keeping the house together with... they are a democracy. They have this voting system. And he really keeps the house together and really turns the house into a family, I think.
Yeah. And so what are your thoughts about the ending of the film and its conclusion to the drama and the narrative that is? Do you feel like that went into an acceptable and satisfying place, the conclusion? Because the ending destroyed you.
Oh, I just openly wept.
Yeah.
I was so sad. But at the same time, I think that I like that the kind of climax event was something outside of our little family. Right. It was something outside of the family that brought everybody together. Yeah. And it was so sad, but it was foreshadowed hardcore throughout the film. You're just waiting for it to happen. And the way that it happened was so sad and so beautiful.
Yeah.
It was, I liked the ending. I thought that it was necessary. We're talking the commune, Andy.
I love the commune.
Me too! Yay!
I love the High five.
I felt some controversy in a row of people not loving it.
Well, to begin with, it's a difficult programming position to be in because we had some very strong films in the first part of the day. I think we had some tonally different films the latter part of the evening, and that's a difficult transition to make for people.
Yeah.
And so I don't think people dislike the film. I think that it's tough to go from the jokey laughter of young offenders to suddenly a very dramatic film that you've got here. And when you do it in a day and then you take a break and you see it the next day, you can clear your mind. In a setting like this, it's difficult to do.
Do you know what I
that
find?
Makes it tough.
This might be a diversion, but like
Smoke bomb.
With film festivals, I can find myself going like, if I don't take to a movie like right away, I can find myself kind of waiting through a movie to get to the next movie because you know that there's something else. So
I
find myself getting dismissive because I know that there's more.
Yeah, and there's only but 3 films that I've seen in this entire weekend. So so watching them, I want to watch them in a setting like this with folks like yourselves in this sort of setting. And I got to tell you, yesterday was, I think, the strongest day I've programmed for a Lost Weekend. The films themselves, despite if you love them or not, I always tell people you have to look out here and see that there's going to be someone who loves Blackcoats Daughter, but someone who doesn't love the Commune, someone who loved Buster's Malhart but doesn't like Alive and Kicking. I mean, there's just so many different people in this audience, but the fact that we're back again means that they're seeing something in each and every one of the films that they can relate to. And number 2 film for me yesterday was Blackcoats Daughter as well.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Number 1 was Buster's Malhart was my number 1 yesterday. I had to think through that one. Just of the day, not of the entire weekend.
Nope, that's fair.
But just of the day, Buster's took my number 1 for me.
Nice.
All right. The next film after The Commune was The Salesman.
Right on.
Lisa,
oh, God.
Us about that one.
So The Salesman is about this Iranian couple, and they are living in this apartment building that is literally crumbling to the ground. There's a decay of infrastructure at this particular point. I'm afraid to name a fucking date because Brad will call me out.
1979. They had cell phones.
So there's obviously some infrastructure issues, and so they are in this position where they have to find a new place to live now. So they are part of, I don't know if it's professional theater or community theater, but they're in a community theater production of Death of a Salesman, and one of the other actors was like, well, I have an apartment that you can rent if you need it, and they're desperate, so they go and they look at it, and the apartment is actually bigger than they expected, nicer than they expected. And so, the wife insists on paying rent, but they think that, wow, we've finally got like this nice break. So now what I'm saying is in the trailer, so I don't feel bad about spoiling this. So on one evening after the show, the wife, Rana, sends her husband, Imad, out for groceries. And so she's home cleaning the house, and he's out getting groceries. And she gets a buzz to let somebody up. She assumes it's Imad, but it's not. And she gets a head injury, and it is strongly implied, that she is raped. And yeah, she's raped, and it's horrible. And the movie deals with the aftermath of this couple, and you see all of these stages of their processing and their grief. So immediately after, Rana is like, I don't remember it. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to tell anybody. The husband is like, you just hit your head. It was a burglar. We should probably go to the police. She doesn't remember anything. It's probably fine. It's the way that they but then and then their positions almost swap, where Rana starts going like, she can't deal, and she has either she starts revealing that she actually does have memories of being abused, or memories are coming back to her, and she's just not getting less sad. And Imad is trying to go like, fucking pull your shit together. You're the one who didn't want to go to the police, so you have to start acting happy, or you're not gonna get better. But then, as more details start getting revealed, for example, Imad finds the rapist's keys and phone, and then and he starts testing keys outside the apartment complex, and he finds the truck. He has this huge clue to who this person is, and so he starts trying to solve this mystery of who did this to his wife, and his wife is just telling him, like, let it alone, stop. So that's what the movie is about. It's a tough watch, and I really came away going, what is the message?
Well,
aside from, like, rape is horrible, and it rips families apart, and everybody's a victim. Like, it's just, I don't know. And I'm not offended by it. Not every film needs a point, but I just, like, if there is a point, I want it, because I need that closure.
A cultural point of view that we may be missing as American audiences. That's what I was thinking about a lot while watching The Salesman, is how do I experience this movie as an American, and how does an Iranian experience this movie? And that's a question that I certainly cannot answer.
Well, so we finished watching the movie, and the first thing that my wife says to me, and this is, I don't want to put it to her because I agree with what she said, but it's her words that I'm going to steal for this. But basically, this is a rape movie about how really difficult it was for her husband to interact with her after she was raped and assaulted in the movie. His perspective is primacy throughout the course of the movie, and I don't know exactly how I feel about that, but it feels strange to watch a movie about how difficult it is for him. I guess that's not outside the realm of
I think that
cinema,
she's clearly traumatized. I think that would be clearly a completely different movie if it was from her perspective. But it is interesting to watch him fumble and fumble and fumble.
I agree with your wife, and I agree with you. There's another friend, Megan. She actually hates the film for that same reason, and she feels that it does examine the impact of that crime from his perspective. But I don't look at that as a negative. I think it's important, because the lesson that I took from it is me being the audience member almost mirrors that his character, in that he sees that crime happen, and he feels like, well, you need to snap out of it. You need to get your shit together. You need to deal with it in this way. And that tragedy, while it's affecting him, it did first and foremost happen to her. So how she chooses to, it's like there's no wrong way to grieve that thing.
Yeah, I
I don't think he has a right to tell her how to process that invasion into her body.
So I guess that's what my question is. Are his actions? Are we meant to be sympathetic to his actions? Is he doing the noble? Is he doing the right thing?
I don't
and
think
we're meant to relate to
anybody
that?
is making a good decision.
Right. Well, I don't think there's a right. I think that what he's doing, because how can he possibly know what that's like?
Right.
And as an audience member, how can I fault him for his actions when I've never had a wife who's been raped? How can I fault her for her decision not to call the cops when I've never been raped? You know what I mean? So how can he fault her for what she's doing when he is not a woman, or a man, because men can get raped too. He's never been violated in that way. So he is not fair for him to tell her to process it in the way that he wants. And it's one of those things where, my wife, she may have had a bad day. Something happened at work, but whatever happens, I wasn't there. So she comes home, and I, as someone who cares about her, at the end of the day, I'm coming from a place of love, because I just want to see my wife smile. I want her to be happy. So I said, baby, just don't worry about it. Just don't let it bother you. But
also men want to fix. I think
we're fixers. That's 100% true.
Well, yeah, as a man, or a fixer, period, maybe to be a man or a woman, we have to understand that how a particular situation affected somebody is unique and personal to them. For people, when I have like my anxiety attacks and my panic attacks, and my family, their first fix is, Darren, did you take your medicine? Or Darren, did you call it? But because it's happening to me, they don't understand the intricacies of that breakdown and how I process that psychologically.
So can we talk about the use of Arthur Miller's Death of a Salesman?
So that's like two cultural things that I don't understand, because I know nothing about the play The Death of a Salesman, except for maybe there's a salesman in it. I'm not sure if the
Willy
salesman
Loman,
is
he's a sad sack loser. He dies. and how that
good.
plays into this story and what is actually being, why is that play being used? And it also references an Iranian novel as well, also called The Salesman, about a guy who turns into a cow by the end of the story.
Nice.
So there's certainly a puzzle piece there that I am missing as an American audience member, and just how they interpret Arthur Miller is really interesting, and why that's being used as a framework for this story.
Well, and they also reference how in doing an American play in Iran, there is issues with
certain passages,
that things that need to be censored. There's like this scene where this woman is like, I'm going outside and I'm not even dressed, and she's like wearing like a full raincoat. So I think that I'm sure that has something to say about this situation.
That's
about
my
the
point
dignity, I guess.
About this film is I feel like I am missing a whole point of view, and I cannot properly analyze it from my position.
It was fun watching the theater scenes, though, like as a person who's done like dumb community theater, and how it's just like the show must go on. Actually, no, the show doesn't have to go on.
Honestly, the movie I wanted, Brad's version of this story, is all about the production of Death of a Salesman in Iran, because I love that play. I've taught that play, and to see it interpreted from these characters' position, I was fascinated with. But then I was also really confused, because why is it in the movie?
What's like the overarching theme of Death of a Salesman?
I'll admit my lack of literacy.
Well, I mean, so the story of Death of a Salesman is Willie Loman, traveling salesman.
Yeah.
He's away from his family a lot. He has 2 young boys, a wife. They are, he is the figurehead of that household. Well, in his professional gallivanting, he strikes up an affair, and his son Biff becomes aware of it, and that moral high ground that the family once saw sees it deteriorate, and in him trying to defend that affair, you see that this guy has nothing to him.
Mm-hmm.
And what the theme is? Sadness. I don't.
Well, I mean that is a parallel with. Both are about sadness.
Yeah, I don't know that I would want a direct correlation with the theme of Death of a Salesman to Rana, because
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying Brad's movie. That was what I was most interested in, and I am confused by its existence here in this movie, and I don't think I have the ability to answer my own question.
Well, maybe though, like maybe that them particularly choosing that play doesn't necessarily have to have anything to do with the themes of
I mean, I
the
think
movie.
It 100% has to and does. It's called The Salesman.
Because
he
that's
is
just
the Willie Loman of this story.
If that's the case, then I don't.
Why
that's
even
just
introduce that?
So
if
then,
that's the
so
case?
then he's definitively not a sympathetic character. If he's the Willie Loman of The Salesman,
I think Willie Loman's sympathetic.
Is
he
he?
does dumbass, terrible things, but he's still a human being.
Well, maybe that's the correlation because if I'm saying that if it is a direct correlation between the salesman and his character, for me that'd just be okay. So he just happens to be playing the salesman character, and then this happens to him, and he's doing it. Like that'd just be too on the nose for me. So I don't want to think that. I just want to think he just happens to be playing that role in that play.
Darren, that's not how art works, though. You don't call a movie The Salesman and have all these scenes of making Death of a Salesman and just be like, it could have been any play.
I put a bunch of plays in a hat. I pulled one out. It was the Death of a Salesman. It'll be weird, but whatever.
I think that there's something about the culture clash of doing the play, The Death of the Salesman, and the situation that Rana is in a modern time with old ideals. I think that there's something about the culture clash of those things that maybe we're not getting as an American audience.
Right. Yeah, I think so.
All right. And then our third and final film of the evening was The Blackcoats Daughter.
Did you like The Blackcoats Daughter?
Okay, Billy.
I like The Blackcoats Daughter.
Well,
Why did you guys not like The
one.
Blackcoats Daughter?
Well, Take it away. Let's talk about the Blackcoats Daughter.
What is the Blackcoats Daughter, Billy?
All right, so the Blackcoats Daughter is about a couple of girls who are in an all-girls school.
Creepy, all the way.
All the way creepy.
Sounds like a terrible place. Catholic school, right? It's run by priests.
Yeah, it looks like it's run by priests, and then there's a creepy head school teacher that seems a little bit strange as well. Yeah, well, not quite a marm, I guess. Is it a manor? Nope, I'm getting distracted. So anyways, so it's directed by Oz Perkins, which is Anthony Perkins' son. His other movie that's out right now on Netflix is I Am the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House, and that's like a tome poem on ghost hauntings. It's very strange. But there's not a lot of story to it. It's all tonal, and I think that carries over into the Blackcoats Daughter. So you have one girl who is maybe possessed, maybe not. Hard to say. It seems like there's some Satanism and demonic possession going on here. And then you have your typical rebellious teenage girls' school student struggling with your typical things like boyfriends and smoking in the bathroom.
And it's the pretty girl
I
from
just applied
Sing
that
Street.
to both characters. I thought, that character is clearly acting like that because she's a teenage girl struggling with teenage things. And I can't relate because I'm a teenage girl.
Girls are demonically
teenage
possessed.
Teenagehood, yeah. It's a ripe
Was that you,
field
Lisa?
for-
In your youth? Your
I was
adolescence?
really, I was a huge Monkees fan, and if Monkees is Satan, then yes.
Hail, Mickey.
She does that nightly.
I do. I get in front of my record player and just bow and bow and bow.
Yay! Oh man! So it takes place at the school. There's a girl who's potentially possessed by the devil.
Yeah.
And then
and it's apparently a break. So these are the only and the parents didn't come and pick up these two particular children. So these kids are like alone in the dormitory.
And there's a parallel story being told about Emma Roberts, who maybe escaped from a hospital.
I
and
think
gets
definitely
picked up
escaped from a
by
hospital.
James Remar. Oh yes. And they're heading to Bramford, and they offer Emma Roberts a ride. And there's something not right with her as well. And that's the setup
not right
of the
with him,
Blackcoats
right?
Daughter.
He's creepy. Creepy McGee.
Well, I mean, he's creepy in a...
Sorry, mic down.
He's creepy in a, Dads for Jesus kind of
You
way.
should just hold it like Creed.
All right.
So that's the premise. Then not much happens. A bunch of creepy imagery.
Yeah.
There might be a llama in a room somewhere.
Is that what that was? Demon llama?
Yeah, it was definitely a llama. I don't think it was Satan. and it just
That was the
it
black
fed
coat alpaca.
off of a bunch of cliche horror images.
Yeah.
And offered you ultimately at the end nothing. Yeah,
Maybe.
I see Andy
I
shaking
don't-
his head. Now, Billy, jump in. Andy can
You
jump in
have
in
a
2 minutes.
5-minute warning to defend this film.
If Andy's going to sit down, I
Andy's
defer
sitting.
the mic to Andy.
Oh my gosh, I don't know if I can even get my words correct on this. I look at every film and I try to find something that's unique about every single movie. And to me, I don't feel like this was a cliche film in any way, shape, or form. I felt like Osgood Perkins, or I'll say Oz Perkins, did a very good job of building the mood, building the scenery, and building the sort of religious factions that melted into this movie perfectly. And for me, every time the scene cut and went to another scene, I was visually entertained. I was visually entertained. I had to look behind what the camera was offering. I had to put the story together myself. And unlike other horror films, it allowed the devil to have a set of bunny ears. And if that doesn't give you additional bonus points, I mean, really, why are we doing this in any way, shape, or form? The devil wore bunny ears, and I was proud.
I watched that movie.
The other thing I loved about this is that the devil wasn't getting in the way. One, he called to let you know he was coming. That was important. Two,
Southern.
when you were in trouble, he just hung off to the side. Like, he wasn't like, hey, I'm over here. He was like, whenever you're ready, come back and see me. And guess what? She did, without spoiling the ending.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I thought it was visually creative. I thought it was crafted very well. Apparently, I've talked to a few people. He's done another film that's on Netflix,
I Am the
and I've
Pretty
not
Thing That
seen
Lives in
it.
the House,
Yep,
yeah.
and that's a haunted house
Yeah.
sort of tale. I hear it's very much a much slower burn than this is.
It's so slow, but if what you like about the Blackcoats Daughter is the atmospheric work, that is 100% present in I Am the Pretty Thing.
And I think you can draw some very nice parallels between what we were visually seeing in Buster's Malhart and visually seeing here. And when you talk about these two directors that are providing something new to the genre,
yes.
I mean, imagine what we saw when we saw It Follows. It had that same sort of brooding element that this did right here. Except this had a bit more of a religious overtone to it, and I thought that worked well within the story. I love to see what they're doing. And I love stories like this because it's not people creeping up and scaring you. It's you could walk into a school right now and be thinking about this film because of how creepy it was. And that's the lingering effect I think it has in the long run.
All right.
Andy out.
Billy?
Mic drop.
Shit, what Andy said.
Shit, what Andy said.
All right. I also found the film visually entertaining. I love the way that it was shot. I love the use of composition in the film and shadows and silhouettes and things like that. But narratively, like where the story, that third act, where it ultimately ended, I don't think I found as satisfying as you did, Billy, or as some other people.
Well, the narrative is definitely the lightest part of this movie, and if it doesn't strike you just right, it has the opportunity to disrupt the whole movie for you, I think.
But tonally, I mean, there is this sense of dread from the opening of the film, and at last, to the last, frame of the movie. But I as far as what it's trying to say, I don't know that I necessarily, not that I didn't get it, but I don't know, not that I found it satisfying. But I mean, I don't think it was a shitty movie. I don't feel like, oh man, I just wasted an hour and 45 minutes because I was engaged throughout. It's just that at the end, I kind of felt like how Brad felt at the end of The Invisible Guest. Like, oh, okay. Interesting.
The Brian Young interesting.
So, have you guys been talking trailers? Because Andy is very particular in the trailers he pairs.
Mm-hmm.
So, the first trailer that we saw was a trailer for Notes on Blindness.
Oh, man.
About John Hull. So, if you're an NPR enthusiast like I am and listened to This American Life, you know a little bit about John Hull. But this is a documentary about him chronicling his going blind, and it looks amazing.
Yeah.
I am so into that.
Yeah, that's probably going to destroy me.
Yeah.
But it looked really good, really well put together. It was just shot amazing.
It looks like
and beautifully.
also they're using some like visual poetry. There was definitely some like metaphors going on to express what it's like being blind, which is inexpressible.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really fantastic. The second trailer we saw was so that was before the Commune. The second before The Salesman, we saw the trailer for Lost City of Zed, and Brad was stoked for that shit.
Can't wait. A Year of Wrath of God again. Yeah, so I don't know. Andy's been showing a lot of really great trailers before each movie, prepping us for whatever his Film Club 3.0 selections are going to be in the future, and I am stoked. But I guess that's it. We got to get to our seats, and that was what?
Whoa, wait! There was a trailer before.
Oh yeah, it was. It Comes at Night. I've been putting little numbers for how interested I am, and I put a 2. I'm not interested in it. It Comes at Night. It looks scary. Okay, bye.
All right, now we have to go grab our seats. What's the first film of the day? My Life is a Zucchini. Oh, I Am a Zucchini.
Yeah, My Life is
I Am a Zucchini.
I Am the Walrus.
Yeah, from G Kids,
Eggplant emoji.
Oscar-nominated animated film.
All right, so it's time to go watch that and get some breakfast, and we will be back shortly to recap for day 3 of Lost Weekend.
Isn't that the end of that episode, though?
Oh, yeah, wait, what? All right, hang on.
Fix it in editing, Darren.
Yeah, all right, so that's going to do it for day 2 of Lost Weekend. Tomorrow, day 3, we start off with an animated feature, Life as a Zucchini, or I Am a Zucchini? Or
no, My Life as a Zucchini.
My Life as a Zucchini.
Oscar-nominated film.
Oscar-nominated film, that's right.
G Kids, we love them.
So I can tick off my Oscar film list. And so stay tuned for all things Lost Weekend. Check out the Facebook page as we'll be posting videos, the YouTube channel, and also follow us on Instagram and Twitter. That's going to do it for us. Thank you all for listening, and tune in tomorrow.
Hail Satan!
Hail Mickey!